Jordan said, my name is Nickarz. I've been with the Sea Shepherds since 1998, and I want to talk a little today about the Antarctic whale defense campaigns that I've taken part in, and also the Canadian seal hunt campaigns that I've taken part in. They're a really good contrast to one another in terms of empowerment of the individuals involved and how many animals we actually saved, and the lingering effects of the post-traumatic stress that you endure as a volunteer. But first of all, I was wondering, so I want to get to know the crowd a bit, so I'm going to be asking some questions. So who's been active on animal issues and speaking up for animals for, say, the last 5 years? You're doing anything. You're doing anything to help animals. You're speaking for them. You're lobbying. So anybody for 10 years? For 20? Okay. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for your service. We don't get enough of that in this community, and it's very important. The animals need your help. And if you're new to it, welcome to the battle. There's a lot of work to do, and you're in it for the long haul. So thanks for joining us. There's a bit of an introduction to myself there. I want to go a bit further with it. Like I said, I've been involved with Sea Shepherds for about 18 years, and I've done 8 campaigns. I've also been involved with the Green Party of Manitoba. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing a talk with Jordan Weikert, who's up there filming us, and we're going to talk about animal rights and politics. And it's going to be quite interesting. So is this talk. So, how many of you have seen the show Whale Wars on Animal Planet? Raise them up high. Okay. So not everybody. So I'll have to talk about that a bit too. So in total, I've been on 4 Antarctic anti-whaling campaigns. From here on in, I'm going to call them the Antarctic campaigns. And do many of you know about the campaigns? You know about Sea Shepherd. How many knows about Sea Shepherd? Everybody knows about Sea Shepherd. But you're aware of the Antarctic anti-whaling campaigns, I'm assuming. Now, a quick summary is that the whaling fleet from Japan illegally kills whales in the waters around Antarctica, and it's illegal in many ways. There's a Antarctic whale sanctuary established by the UN in 1994. There's a ban on commercial whaling from 1986. There's the Convention on the Trade of Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna that they're violating, and about three or four other international agreements or laws that they're breaking. In 2014, the International Court of Justice in The Hague, the Australian government finally, under pressure from Sea Shepherd and other groups and citizens in Australia, took Japan to the International Court of Justice and won. It was such a one-sided victory. They said, your whaling's illegal. Not only is it illegal, but you have no avenue for appeal. So it was an amazing sort of legal, and there's folks over here that are more involved with the legal side of things. It was an amazing legal victory. So Japan took a year off from whaling, and they went back and killed a third of the whales, because I guess a third of illegal is not so illegal, right? You kill 1,000 whales one year, but the next year it's 300. The logic just doesn't make sense. So the Sea Shepherd campaigns in general, what they do is we just simply take a ship or ships out and we chase the whaling ships. We chase the factory ships in particular, and if they stop, then we try to foul their propellers with ropes. And we try to do some damage to their vessels and disable what they're doing on the ocean. Usually they run away from us. I'll be talking about a campaign in a few minutes where they actually didn't run away from us, and we had to have a bit of a confrontation. The campaigns themselves can last anywhere from 50 days to 120 days, depending on when you have to go refuel, depending how long the whalers stay down. They're very, they're amazing campaigns. Like if you're a volunteer, it's one of the most boring things you'll ever do with your life. It's one of the most amazing things. And you go at sea, you leave port, you're going to go after the whalers. It takes almost 2 weeks to get there if it's far away. And then you have 6 days of intense confrontation where you don't sleep. You're able to save a number of whales. This is the main point of the Antarctic campaigns. As a crew member, before we even get back to port, the whalers are complaining about how many whales they didn't kill because of our actions. What better confirmation of your volunteer effort than to have your opponent say, oh yeah, they stopped us from killing 300 whales this season. They stopped us from killing 700 whales this season. So you know exactly what you've done, and it's very empowering as a crew member. The first Antarctic campaign that we undertook was in 2002. We left in December, and I think we came back in early February. It was about 46 days long, and we didn't find the whalers. A lot of people, some of the people in the organization say, don't talk about that. Nobody wants to hear about not finding whalers. You know what? It was a very important campaign. We got to know the people at the French Antarctic Research Base. We actually got to go on Antarctica and meet penguins. They were just walking all around us because they don't know humans that well, so they just walk up to you and you're just amazed as an animal person, right? You're like, oh crap, it's a penguin. And in the water is where they really shine. Penguins walking on land, which you see most of the time, they're really ridiculous. They're just funny and they waddle along. But in the water, they look like dolphins. That's how fast they swim. So we got to do a lot of cool things, but we didn't find the whalers. But we did get to know the lay of the land, so to speak. We got to know the seas. The ship that we used, Farley Mowat, not the new one in Key West. I'm talking about the old one that likes to leak and sink underneath you. It's almost sunk underneath me 3 times, by the way. So my nostalgia for that ship is long since gone. We came back from the Antarctic, the first Antarctic campaign in 2003, and we put fuel in the ship to refuel it to go somewhere else, and it sprung a leak. So we spent almost 50 days on the water, where at any moment we could have sprung a leak in the hull. And it only happened in port, luckily, when we were able to weld a repair on the ship. But if that happened in the middle of the ocean, 1,000, 1,500 kilometers from a port, we would have been in serious trouble. So, what you can learn from failure is very important. We didn't find the whalers, but we did, like I said, we did get to know the place, we did get to know the waters, and there wasn't a lot of learning there, but we did learn something. I have a timekeeper, by the way. Do I? Yeah. You? Okay, cool. Can you give me like a, I'm trying to talk for 20 minutes. Can you give me like a 5-minute warning? Okay, thanks. I wasn't on the second Antarctic anti-whaling campaign. It was in 2005-06, but I was on the third one in 2006-07. It was called Operation Leviathan. And at that time, Whale Wars wasn't around yet. And Whale Wars is a double-edged sword. It got a lot of people involved with the organization and a lot of exposure, but it's also a reality show, which is the reason why we have Trump right now. Because everybody's been raised on reality TV for the last 20 years, right? Am I right? So we had a documentary film team. Dan Stone was his name, and he had a couple of camera people on board. And about a year and a half later, because these things take a while to produce, he came out with At the Edge of the World. Has anybody seen it, At the Edge of the World? It's a wonderful little documentary if you want to see it. And it's better than Whale Wars. It's a real documentary. There's like, they let a moment land. They let the landscape come by, and you get to see things more, not just the drama that you would see on Whale Wars. So I have 2 videos I want to show you. I want to show you a short clip from At the Edge of the World, and I want to show you a clip from the BBC4 documentary called Battleship Antarctica, which happened at the same time on the Greenpeace ship on the same campaign. And in this world of social media and documentaries and everything being filmed, it's a really good sort of coincidence. So let me pull up that video. So after several weeks of trying to find the whalers, we actually finally find the spotter vessel for the whaling ship fleet. So there's the Mission Maru, which is the factory ship. They pull the whales up the backside of it, they process them. There's a couple spotter ships and a couple killer ships, and eventually they started sending a security vessel as well to sort of oppose us. We finally found this ship, and here's our it's like a 2-minute video, it's a short confrontation with them. Seeing the small boat crew go out to the to the Clayoquot Sound spotter vessel, and they're going to throw a rope in the water to try to tangle it. Can you guys hear that? Okay, so they're just celebrating the fact that the whole prop fouling rope didn't come back. Some of it's around the propeller. That we have a ship under arrest that's illegally whaling, and we wanted to bring it back to port. And they said, if you do that, we'll put you under arrest. So we don't get a lot of support from the government. We also ran into them. Alex tried to say, like, you know, well, they hit us. I don't want to contradict what Alex said, but you know, it was pretty obvious. We wanted to send them. We also have the can opener on the Farley mullet. That is never used, and that's more for, I would say, public relations than actual use. Because when it was used back in the 90s, it actually tore the deck up, and we need the deck for living. So we also fouled the propeller with a rope. And now the thing is, okay, it sounds a bit violent, it's not. What it does is the plastic rope gets wrapped around the propeller, and then it heats up and sort of forms a bunch of plastic mess around their propeller shaft. And what it caused was, it didn't stop them. They actually stopped and tried to get it out, and they put out a mayday. They actually put out a mayday to surrounding ships to say we're under attack by pirates. What happened was that prop fouling basically caused a vibration in the propeller. And they were still able to get underway, and they were still able to get back home. But over that time, that vibration damaged the stern tube, it damaged the pedestal bearings, it's all technical talk, just damaged the stuff in the engine room. It cost about $1.5 million damage. There was I think it was a British newspaper that went and investigated, and it caused them a lot of damage. When they lose the ability to kill so many whales, they also lose tens of millions of dollars of income. So our campaigns, again, are very empowering. We actually get to do stuff like this. It's just so much fun. We've got to keep that. I mean, besides any critique we have, that's fine. We can handle the critiques, but sometimes it's a lot of fun being a crew member. After being at sea for weeks at a time, chasing whaling ships where they just keep, running away from you, and that's all you're doing is just following a whaling ship for another week or two at a time. It's really good to be able to do something and put a dent in their operations. The funniest thing now is I'm going to show you a video of the Greenpeace ship that's about 30 miles away. And what they were doing was just waiting till we left before they did anything. They didn't want to work with Sea Shepherd. We wanted to work with them. There was a whole series of scenes in both documentaries where we try to radio them and say, hey, let's work together. Here's our coordinates. We found the whalers. Now would you do the same for us? They didn't want to work with us. It's up to them, but it's kind of a waste. They ended up doing pretty much nothing with their campaign and their ship. But the BBC4 documentary is really good because it happens, this section happens at the exact same time of the clip I just showed you.
ocean. It's a gripping It's a gripping and breathtakingly beautiful documentary.
Hope that they leave our radar.
Because the sighting vessel is not directly involved in the killing of whales, Greenpeace don't consider it a target.
That's the king of Mars.
Yeah, it would be good to get finally engaged with the whaling fleet where it's actually happening instead of this pathetic little piece of shit sighting vessel.
I've just printed out an update from Sea Shepherd to update our crew, where he's threatening to ram the mission Murray and give them a steel enema.
Steel enema?
Well, according to this report, which is in the media, he intends to take drastic action, probably in the next 24 hours, to slam his vessel into the Nickarz Murray's slipway, preventing it from hunting more whales.
Is it worrying from our point of view at all?
What the fuck was that one?
I think that's a Japanese ship. I think it's the Japanese ship.
Doing what?
Distress alert.
Did you hear that? Distress alert, and he thinks it's a Japanese ship.
What?
Can you confirm, I hear they are under attack by the Robert Hunter, is that correct?
Warning! Please make I command captain. Stop your obstructive action immediately.
The Sea Shepherd ship, the Robert Hunter, had also found a Clayoquot maroon, whose crew began filming the dramatic encounter. Unlike Greenpeace, Sea Shepherd decided the whale sighting vessel was a legitimate target and launched an attack.
Asking for any vessel in the vicinity to come to their assistance, which is what we're doing.
How far away are we?
About 30 miles, I think.
The footage released by the Japanese fleet shows the Sea Shepherd at the Clayoquot maroon. After temporarily disabling its propeller, Sea Shepherd started searching for other targets.
We just heard Sea Shepherd over the radio talking about.
So anyway, those things happened at the same time, and it's kind of neat to see the different points of view. And the first mate, I actually met the first mate, the New Zealand woman, who was surprised by the distress call as she was talking about, I'm kind of concerned about the danger that Sea Shepherd poses. There's actually a lot of things in common between the crew members of the two ships. We have Greenpeace people serving on our ships all the time, and we have our people go back and forth. So it's mostly the sort of higher levels. Like the captain there was saying, oh yeah, the spotting ship, it's not worth going after. Well, so what? Like, it's part of the whaling fleet, it's a legitimate target. Anyway, that was a bit of fun. That was my second Antarctic anti-whaling campaign. We actually found whalers. On the 2008-9 campaign, it was the second season of the reality show Whale Wars. And if you want to see that, you can go find it. It's an interesting show, and it shows a lot of interesting stuff, but it's a reality show. If you know what I'm talking about, it's a pretty unreal. It almost looks scripted how unreal it is. But anyway, it really raised the profile. They actually decided to stop running from us on that campaign. The whaling ships usually just take off because we do stuff like that to them. They thought, you know what, we're going to kill whales in front of you this time. So they managed to kill 5 whales, and I do have a video of this. And we decided to, have a little confrontation.
Hi, Dennis.
tied up on the side of the ship. That's the worst alarm clock ever. I was actually trying to sleep, and the first mate got pulled out of the cabin. I was sharing a cabin. And 5 minutes? Okay. So there's just some examples of the stuff we do. In the question and answer period, you can ask me whatever you'd like if you think that's violent or not, or non-violent or on the edge. In 2009, well, they actually stopped killing whales in front of us after we did that. So, you know, they tried to test us and think, okay, we're just going to kill whales like we do in front of Greenpeace. And we hit their ships, so it stopped. I mean, it's pretty simple. Quick video.
A short while ago, I spoke to Paul Watson, the head of Sea Shepherd, on board his organization's mothership in the Southern Ocean, and he told me that this put people's lives at risk.
So in the 2009 Antarctic anti-whaling campaign, we had a ship called the Addie Gill. Does anybody remember the Addie Gill? Okay, not too many. We brought this weird-looking Batmobile kind of trimaran ship down, and it was much faster. It could go around doing prop fouling and really get in the way of ships. So the Yushin Maru No. 2 decided to hit it, and it's a carbon fiber vessel that didn't really survive much of the hit, and luckily no one was killed. But this video in particular is very shocking. We didn't actually see the video until we were back. There was 2 other ships up. There was the Steve Irwin, which is the big black ship, and then we also had the new ship, the Bob Barker. You can imagine who our sponsors are, by the way, by their names. So we saw a distant video of the 2 ships colliding, and we thought, oh yeah, that looks bad. But then it was only like a month and a half later when I was back in port that I actually get to see this video.
All of the crew members, all 77 people who were on board here, were well aware of the risks that we're taking when we come down here. So, you know, we're prepared for that. The loss of the Addie Gill, that's cost us about $2 million, but again, that's not worth as much to us as the whales are. So we're quite willing to take those risks. We're not giving up. And but you know, we're sort of at a disadvantage. They can do anything to us. They can injure or kill us, and their government will justify and defend their actions. We have to do what we do, making sure we don't hurt them.
So anyway, they knocked the 8 feet of the front of the ship off, put all those crew members in danger. Luckily, they were sitting on top. You saw some of them sitting on top. None of them got injured. The ship had to be abandoned at sea. It was we couldn't pull it on board the ship. We couldn't tow it because it didn't have that capacity. It was kind of crazy. It got quite a bit of media attention, but yeah, it just kind of shows some of the dangers involved. We've never sustained or caused a serious injury or death with all these actions we've done. A lot of these look pretty severe and pretty radical. They're not that radical. We take a lot of precautions, even though we do run into other ships. We don't T-bone them. You know, it's not like a car accident in an intersection. It's just a little bump. It's like opening your door into another car, although it does cause a bit of distress. Now, as a contrast, I've only got a couple minutes left, but I've been involved with 2 of the Canadian seal hunt campaigns where we brought ships to the campaigns, once in 2005 and once in 2008. Now, the 2005 campaign, it's the exact opposite of the anti-whaling campaigns. The seal hunt campaigns, we bring a ship into the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and the sealers, I don't even know if they're doing it on purpose or if it's just the way they do it. They cut open these baby seals alive in front of us. And there's literally nothing we can do about it in terms of direct action, because we'll get arrested. Our ship, the Farley North, did get arrested on the 2008 seal hunt campaign. We were boarded by a SWAT team, and the ship was taken at gunpoint. We were all arrested. But the positive part of that campaign is that once we left the ship and we were taken to shore, and all but the first mate and the captain were let go. The crew basically follows the orders of first mate and captain, so legally they're the ones responsible. So as soon as we went on shore, we were let go, and there were cameras and media waiting to talk to us. And of course, the first question they ask us is, how did it feel to have guns pointed at you? And of course, as animal activists, you know what to do with this, right? You know what to do with this question. And it's nothing compared to what the seals go through. So I had the opportunity, as one of the only 2 Canadian crew members on board, to speak to the media almost continuously over the next few days. And even when I went back to Toronto, I was going back to Winnipeg when I went through Toronto, I got to do live interviews, I got to speak out for the SEALs. And that was very empowering. At least I got to speak out for them, and people cared about what I had to say. And it helped with the horrific images that were in my mind. On the 2005 campaign, there was none of that. We went and saw it, and then we went home. And I'm glad there's a talk later today about activist burnout. It should be part of every single talk we do, and it should be at the beginning and end of these kind of conferences, because I suffered post-traumatic stress from the 2005 SEAL event. And the worst thing about it is I didn't know. You don't know when you're suffering post-traumatic stress because you're in it. Only your loved one, your partner, your close friends can say, hey, you've been real quiet lately, or there's a lot of other ways that comes up. I recommend looking into it because the work we do is not easy. It's very traumatic, and the reason why I was able to tell I had that kind of stress is because one evening my wife asked me, "What's wrong? You're really quiet." And usually I'm not quiet. I'm really talkative guys, you can tell. And I just started crying. So you have to take care of yourselves. You really do. Sometimes nobody else is going to do it, but keep an eye out for each other. If someone's acting different than they usually do, go and look up the signs of post-traumatic stress. That's what I really wanted to finish on in my talk. Like, a lot of this is really, really fun and empowering, and a lot of it's just absolutely devastating. And that's the price you pay when you actually care about something. So thank you for listening, and